As a married businessman with kids, if you find yourself crumbling under the pressure and you don't know how to handle providing while showing up as the dad and the husband and the man that you want to be, I want you to watch this video. I'm going to give you something tangible, right? Now, I'm not going to try to sell you anything. Yeah, there's a call to action at the end for you to book a call if you really want to go down that path. But this video is going to give you something that you can implement today to change your life. It's wild how we'll abandon our family for success when the one thing that we didn't have a child is exactly that. And that's exactly where I found myself at. I was chasing success, I was chasing money, I was chasing awards, all thinking that it was going to be the thing that was going to set me free. Yet somewhere along the way, I lost myself. I surrendered myself to the grind and to the hustle because I bought into the lie that had been shoved down my throat for so long. That if you just make more money and you provide and take care of your family financially, that everything else will just fall into place. But what happens when you lose yourself? Like you don't even recognize yourself anymore. When your wife looks at you and she tells you that she fucking hates you and she hates the relationship. When you come home and you recognize that you have a better relationship with your cell phone than you do with your kids. That you find yourself just lost, them saying dad, 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 but while you're sitting there just scrolling emails. And the worst part is I would look at myself in the mirror and I was like, what happened to the guy that used to have fun and used to laugh? For 7 years, I was in real estate and I entered into it with good intentions to create freedom for my family. It was one of those phrases that I think most men, like, we're very aware of. Like, I'm just going to do this for us. I'm going to build this life. Yet I found myself working 7 days a week, oftentimes 60, 70, 80 hours a week. I would come home exhausted. I wouldn't have any energy to invest back into my fiance at the time. And I could feel the distance started to grow. I would make her promises that we were going to hang out on the weekend, but then I would get a phone call from a client in an act of desperation, thinking that I had to go chase money, that if the client was going to leave me, if I didn't pick up the phone and go immediately, I found myself doing it over and over and over again, leaving her at home while I was out driving around just trying to make money. And at first she was supportive, but the message that I kept saying to her and sending to her, not even verbally, was the fact that this is more important than you. And so the division started to happen. This is the reason that we called off our wedding. There was so much disconnection between the two of us that no matter how much money I was making, I would come home and she was just cold. And there'd be tension, and we'd be sitting in the living room or standing in the kitchen. 2 people cooking dinner, 2 people eating dinner, not saying a single word, just scrolling on our cell phones. And it got worse and worse and worse. Luckily, we got married and things started to happen, but then you start to insert kids. We had our very first kid. And it was the decision that her and I had made that she was going to become a stay-at-home mom. And so she did. But there's a gap now. The $140,000 a year that she was making now was on my back as the provider. And I could feel the weight and I could feel the pressure. And when you add that with this feeling of having a brand new son, not knowing how to be a dad because there's no fucking playbook for this, or how to even support your wife fully because now you're no longer just the center of her world, the child is. And you as a man, you still have needs sexually. You want to be connected to your wife when all she's focused on the kid. And now what do? I'm all focused on the business. And so I went back to work 48 hours after coming home. And it was one of the worst decisions I've ever made because this fear was driving me to make more money, to cover the gap of the $140,000. Yeah, I was working 6, 7 days a week again while my wife was at home with a newborn. And yeah, I tried to show up and I tried to change diapers and I tried to take care and support where I could, but I was fighting a war on 2 fronts, the war at home and the war at work. And how do you win that war when there's no rest? I remember, never forget, I was getting just phone call after phone call after phone call from my wife one day as I was sitting there writing contracts in the office, and I was just ignoring the call, being like, I'm not going to deal with this, I'm not going to deal with this, I'm not going home. And finally, there's this thing inside me that said, pick up the phone. And when I did, I heard my wife just crying on the other side hysterically, and I heard our son just bawling, and I didn't know what to do, so I packed up my bag and I drove home. And as I walked through the door and I came back, she's just laying on the ground, holding our son, and he's just in tears. And I looked down and she finally told me that she was depressed and she was sad and she felt abandoned. I did that to her. The one thing that I was trying to do is to save and protect the family. I did the complete opposite. I pushed her away. And for 2 years, I had to pay the price. She didn't trust me. She didn't believe me. She didn't think I was going to be a good dad. And it was a debt that I had to pay off. And 2 years later, When our second son was born, I finally did, and that was the moment that I woke up. I woke up to this realization that if I didn't remove myself from the grind, if I didn't start to actually take care of myself, if I didn't unravel all of these thoughts that I had been told for so long about making more money, and that success is the thing that's going to make you happy, and that your worth is your worthiness, and that if you provide, that all you have to do is give a paycheck, if I didn't unravel that, then inevitably everything that I was building it for was going to be gone. And it took me 7 fucking years to figure that out. Tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in coaching and therapy, meditation retreats, trying on different people's, mode of success, and none of it worked. And so then I realized I had one simple decision. I could either continue to go down this path, or I could build my own standard of what I wanted my life to look like. And it's hard to take a look at yourself and just be honest about where you're at. But I broke my life in all these different domains, and I started to look at them, each one individually, and I had to ask myself one simple question: where am I lying to myself? I looked at my body and how I was taking care of myself and feeding myself and what I was doing and the habits that I had. I looked at myself and the relationship I had with me and the relationship I had spiritually with God. I looked at how I was showing up as a dad and a husband, and then I was also looking into how I was showing up in my business. These 4 domains, the core 4 of body, being, balance, and business, is how I started to deconstruct my life so that I could rebuild it. You see, there's a lot of power when you take full control and agency, dominion over these 4 parts of your life. And it's in this place that when you do that, what I found for myself is I was able to generate and create a new level of certainty in myself. And at the same time, I was able to show up as the man, the father, the husband, and the entrepreneur that I wanted to be. So listen, man, if you find yourself in this place where you're providing for your family and the pressure is just continuing to build, you feel that disconnection from your wife and you've just started to settle for a good marriage, you say that you're there for your kids, but deep down you know that you're not being fully present, and there's that dad guilt that you're carrying around, and you sure as shit know you're not making the money that you could. I just want to give you a little bit of advice. This is what worked for me. You get to try it on, but there's 4 parts that I want you to focus on. Number 1 is your body. 2 things: how you eat, your fuel, and 2, what are you doing for your fitness? You see, when I recognized that I wanted to take care of my body, I made some massive decisions. I stopped drinking. I started to focus on recovery. I started to focus on the food that I was eating. And on top of that, I focused on how I trained. I started to wake up earlier and get my workouts in before my kids even woke up, before my wife woke up. I never wanted to steal from them. I simply wanted to show up as the best version of me. And so when you operate clearly in your body and you have confidence in your body, that starts to bleed into all the other areas of your life. The second domain that I want you to focus on is your being domain. It's the relationship with you, yourself, and also your relationship with your creator. Now, I don't give a shit if you believe in God, doTERRA oil, crystals, or you just want to rub your fingers together. It doesn't fucking matter to me. But at some point, you have to understand that there might be something bigger than you, a calling, a higher version of you, your subconscious energy. And it's your relationship to this and this understanding of something bigger, which is really just your relationship with yourself. Will you challenge yourself on the hard questions of your own life? Like what you stand for? Can you answer one simple question? What is the biggest lie that I'm telling myself? And then be honest with what's coming up. You see, you have to hunt down the best version of you. You don't have to become anything. That man is already inside you, but he's covered up with stories and lies and old beliefs. And for you to work in this domain means you're going to sit in 2 places. You're going to meditate every day to silence the mind and reconnect with yourself. And number 2, you're going to journal. Get those thoughts out so that you can see where you're at on paper. It's a little bit different than just storing it up in your brain, isn't it? The third area that I want you to focus on is your balance domain. This is the relationship you have with your wife, your kids, your friends, and your family. I want you to think of this as like an emotional bank account where you're making daily investments every single day. I'll sit here on the way home from the gym and I'll pull out my cell phone, wherever it is behind me, and I'll sit there and I'll send her audio notes about how much I love her, and I'll be specific about the things that she's doing in my life and how much I appreciate her. At the same time, I'll come home and I'll sit down with my 2 little boys and I'll just look at them and I'll hold them. I'll let them know how much they mean to me. Quality time with them. I'll also call my mom and my dad every single day and invest in them. Call my sister and invest in her. I'll pick up the phone and tell my best friends how much I love them. Telling other dudes that I love them. I'm going to normalize that just so you know. Why? Because these relationships are your energy source. These relationships are the only currency we actually have. And so you have to invest in them for them to appreciate. And that's exactly what I want you to do, is make a daily investment into an emotional bank account with these individuals. And then the last one is your business. Your business is going to be the thing that's going to provide the life that you want, but your business cannot steal your soul. And so what do you have to do? You have to make this something that is going to accelerate and support your life, but it's not going to be the thing that takes your life. You have to learn new skills, new habits, new resources. You have to hire mentors. You have to be able to be a coach, It doesn't matter what industry in. If you are managing people, you're a coach. And this is why we have the discover and declare, your ability to discover something, learn something new every single day, and then your ability to teach it, declare it to somebody else. When you work in these 4 domains of body, being, balance, and business, you create power on demand. Power in yourself. That's not rooted in your bank account. That's not rooted in a 6-pack. That's not rooted in any type of bullshit. It's rooted in who you are as a man because of the daily things that you do in each one of these domains. And here's what I found for myself. When you invest in yourself like that, before your day even begins, not only do you have more power in your work, but you can show up as the dad that you want with energy and presence, and you can show up as the husband that you want that has your wife lean in and love you. But more importantly, at the end of the day, you'll love the man that you've become. So listen, if you're tired of playing this game where you're running on empty, where your whole life is driven by chugging coffee and shotgunning Celsiuses, I gotta tell you something. There's a different way to do this. The world's gonna tell you to work harder, do more, redline, that it's just the season. You're gonna hear from people like David Goggins and Jocko, but I want you to understand, like, redlining like that, that's rooted in performance, and it's gonna have you get to a spot where you're gonna burn out, and if you burn out, the whole game burns to the ground. And the people that you love are gonna go with it. Or you can choose to try to play this game that I've been playing. I can't guarantee that it's gonna work, but I guarantee that if you do it, your life's gonna be drastically better than it is today. So listen, at the end of the day, all I can offer you is a conversation. Go down and click on the link in the description. Watch the video. I'm gonna explain exactly how this works over the next 6 weeks. And if it's something that lands on you, click the link and book a call.